PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. Go to our website, PRConnectionsRadio.com. Check out all of the content we have on there, including the dozen shows we have here on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. And also go to our social medias on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media sites at PR Connections Radio. Like, share, and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel, regardless if it is the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel or the network PR Connection Radio YouTube channel. Welcome, everybody. And we appreciate everybody who is watching this show tonight and all of the previous and or future shows we have here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And if you want to follow your host, follow me on Twitter at Ian Rachiele18 and follow the show at Vegas Hockey Hub. This is a fantastic edition that we are going to be doing today as the Vegas Golden Knights, as we're doing player profiles. We did it recently on Aiden Hill. We've done ones on Zach Whitecloud, Logan Thompson. We've done a bunch of player profiles here for the Vegas Golden Knights on Vegas Hockey Hub. But on tonight's edition of Vegas Hockey Hub, we are going to be doing a player profile. And we're going to be breaking down Brayden McNabb. Brayden McNabb is a very interesting story for your Vegas Golden Knights because you have to understand, Brayden McNabb has had an interesting journey in the NHL. From when he was drafted back in 2009 and then getting to Vegas in the expansion draft in 2017 to becoming a Stanley Cup champion in 2023, Brayden McNabb has become a really good player and has become a constant in Vegas. He has become one of the most reliable players in the NHL and here in Vegas, and has become somewhat of a following leader here in Vegas. So before we break down Brayden McNabb and who he is as a player, we have to go back just a little bit. All right, before we got to this moment in time where Brayden McNabb was playing for your Vegas Golden Knights, we have to start from the very beginning. In fact, we have to go all the way back to his days in the Western Hockey League. Brayden McNabb was not just a member of a very good and successful team in the WHL. As you can see as a sweater and the letter on his sweater, he was a captain of this team. And also, I want you to remember that this is a team that went to the Memorial Cup back in 2010-2011. Anybody who doesn't know what the Memorial Cup is, it is the most prestigious cup in junior hockey. All right, it is pretty much the Stanley Cup of junior hockey. All right, so going to the Memorial Cup and being the team captain on that team should really show you the leadership skills that Brayden McNabb had early on in his career. I also want you to keep in mind, he was a member of Team Canada in 2009 in the International Ice Hockey Federation World Championships and the under-18 team. So he was a member of that squad back in 2009. He was already building up a successful career as a member of hockey. I also want to mention that this guy is one of the best defensive-focused defensemen that we have in the league. All right, he doesn't really put the puck in the back of the net. He's not someone you're seeing make a lot of suave plays on offense. But what Brayden McNabb does well, and what Brayden McNabb does successfully, is be a good player on the defensive side of the ball. When it comes to the defensive side of the ice and being a good player on terms of the defensive side, Brayden McNabb is solid. He is consistent as one of the best playmakers on defense throughout his career. And I'm also going to mention his fighting capabilities because Brayden McNabb had over 100 penalty minutes in the Western Hockey League, and he has gotten well over a good amount of penalty minutes in the NHL since being drafted. So I'm also going to mention to you, when it comes to Brayden McNabb, when it comes to what he has done, he also was in the 2009 Top Prospects game which is something that's very vital and really important to being a prospect in the NHL. So think about the accolades that Brayden McNabb had accumulated before even getting into the NHL. He was team captain. He helped his team get to the Memorial Cup. He was on the top prospects game in 2009. He was with Team Canada on in their World Championship for the International Ice Hockey Federation back in 2009, the under-18 team. Brayden McNabb was already building up a successful resume before even getting to the NHL. So, what did Brayden McNabb do in the Western Hockey League? What stats did he accumulate in the 5 years he was in the Western Hockey League? Well, year one, he didn't do that much. There wasn't really much you can say. But year two, he had 11 points in 65 games in the WHL, 63 penalty minutes. So he had pretty much almost 1 penalty minute per game that he was in the Western Hockey League. And he followed that up with 10 penalty minutes in 10 playoff games for his team in the 2008 WHL playoffs. I also want to keep in mind, in the 2008 WHL playoffs, he actually did pretty well for his team. As a matter of fact, that team got all the way to the semifinals before losing in the semifinals. So in 2008, his Western Hockey League team gets to the second round of the WHL playoffs. He had 1 point in 10 games with 10 penalty minutes. 2008-2009 for Brayden McNabb. He had 10 goals, 36 points, and a whopping 140 penalty minutes in 67 games. Now, what he did in the playoffs, however, is actually more interesting because he had 5 points in 4 games. So he actually averaged a point per game in the Western Hockey League in the 2009 WHL playoffs. Unfortunately for his team, he lost to the Brandon Wheat Kings in the first round. 2009-2010, he had 17 goals, 57 points, and 121 penalty minutes in 64 games for his team in 2009-2010. And in the playoffs that year, he had a whopping 18 penalty minutes alongside 4 points in 6 games. What did his team do? All they did was get to the first round before losing to Medicine Hat in the first round. Now, the last year he was playing in the Western Hockey League, Brayden McNabb, is when he showed out. His last year playing in the Western Hockey League, 2010-2011, that's when Brayden McNabb became the established guy and really developed himself into an NHLer. In 2010-2011, his final year in juniors, in 59 games, he had 22 goals, 50 assists, 72 points, and only 95 penalty minutes in the Western Hockey League. Also, him being the captain of his team in 2010-2011, in 19 playoff games, he had 24 assists, 27 points, and 37 penalty minutes as he helped his team not only get to the WHL championship, but he also helped his team get into the Memorial Cup in 2011. So this is a guy in Brayden McNabb who in his junior hockey league, he was able to take his team and go pretty far. So what happened to Brayden McNabb after his junior career was over? What did he become? Well, Brayden McNabb would get drafted to the team you see right here. Brayden McNabb would go to the Buffalo Sabres as he would get drafted in 2009, 66th overall, which is a third-round pick by the Buffalo Sabres. I will say, considering the players he got drafted alongside, I actually think that's part of a steal. When you value that Brayden McNabb was a third-round pick, 3 picks later, and here's a little bit of a twist for you, 66 overall, Brayden McNabb was taken. 3 picks later, 69th overall in the exact same draft, the Dallas Stars selected Riley Smith in the exact same round, in the exact same draft as Brayden McNabb. And even if you want to go down a little bit more in the draft, 85th overall in 2009, the same round as Brayden McNabb, the same round as Riley Smith. Former Vegas Golden Knights center Cody Eakin was taken 85th overall. So you had a trio of Golden Knights players drafted in the exact same round in 2009. What a coincidence. So Brayden McNabb, who came from Saskatchewan, came from Davison, Saskatchewan, the fact that he went in the third round, 66 overall, was a very good situation for him. As you see right here, McNabb has been a very consistent player for the Vegas Golden Knights. Surprisingly to the fans, he is still here as one of the remaining misfits. Now, I'm not going to address the last part, but here's what I'm going to say to you. The reason why Brayden McNabb is still here is because defensively, he is one of the best players on the Vegas Golden Knights. Defensively, he is one of the best defensive-sided defensemen and one of the best defensive skilled players the NHL has in terms of Vegas. That is the main reason why Brayden McNabb is still in the NHL. That's why Brayden McNabb has had almost a decade-long career in the NHL, because he is a defensive skilled guy, and the NHL still needs defensive skilled guys at the present moment. So, after Brayden McNabb signed an entry-level deal with the Buffalo Sabres around 2011, and after being at the Sabres training camp in 2011, he would go to the AHL and play for the Rochester Americans for 3 seasons. In his 3 seasons playing in the AHL, he had 30 points in 45 games. He had 36 points in 62 games and 29 points in 38 games. So he was steadily getting half a point per game in the AHL. Not bad. He also was not racking up as many penalty minutes as he did in the WHL, as he only had 31, 50, and 45, respectively. So his 3 seasons playing in Rochester, he was developing his talent. He was building up as a good member of the Buffalo Sabres prospects. He was becoming a sound member there in Buffalo. And then in 2011-2012, he gets his first piece of action in the NHL. And as you see as a picture right here, in 25 games for the Buffalo Sabres, a young Brayden McNabb got his first goal of his career, had 8 points and only 15 penalty minutes in Buffalo. Now, granted, he was a third-line pairing in Buffalo. He was on the third defensive pairing. But when it comes to Brayden McNabb, him doing well in his first 25 games, it showed potential in Buffalo. He also had 12 more games as a Buffalo Sabre in the 2013-2014 season before something would happen to Brayden McNabb that would change his career. After being part of the Buffalo Sabres for 4 seasons, after being part of them, he actually ended up getting flipped at the trade deadline in 2014. So on March 5th, 2014, Jonathan Parker, 2 draft picks, and Brayden McNabb was dealt to the LA Kings in exchange for Nicolas Desailliers and Hudson Fasching. So he ended up getting dealt at the trade deadline to the LA Kings, as you see right here. And his LA Kings tenure was really fascinating. As a matter of fact, he actually ended up having some good years with the LA Kings. Now, after having 1 season in the AHL playing for Manchester, where he had 7 points in 14 games, once again, a half a point per game, he became a mainstay for the LA Kings. In fact, he played 3 whole seasons playing for the LA Kings. He had 71, 81, and 49 games, respectively, for the LA Kings in the 3 seasons he played. He actually racked up 24 points, 14 points, and 4 points for the LA Kings. Now, I do want to mention to you that Brayden McNabb having 4 points in 49 games was actually one of the main reasons why the LA Kings left him exposed for the expansion draft. He had a career low in the NHL as he was left exposed by Vegas and he is actually picked by Vegas in the 2017 NHL expansion draft. But what was the main reason that Brayden McNabb was there, you might ask? If he wasn't a goal scorer, if he wasn't a guy really putting the puck in the back of the net, what was Brayden McNabb's main role with the LA Kings? Oh, that's right. You're looking at it right there. The main reason why Brayden McNabb was on the LA Kings as a third-line defensive pairing, because he could fight. Brayden McNabb, in his 3 seasons playing for the LA Kings, had 52, 92, and 54 penalty minutes in his time in LA. Brayden McNabb was well known and was really being established as a fighter in the NHL. He was a guy who was willing to drop the gloves at any minute. As a matter of fact, when he did come to Vegas, a lot of people did believe that he would be the fighter. He would be the enforcer. He'd be the guy to drop the gloves here in Vegas, based off of what he did in LA. So with Brayden McNabb, him getting over 150 penalty minutes in his career in LA, he was establishing himself as a defensive-minded defenseman who could drop the gloves and could go as a member in LA. So in June 2017, he got left exposed and got taken by the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's the photo they used for Brayden McNabb. So Brayden McNabb gets taken by Vegas. And not only does he get taken by Vegas, he gets put on the first defensive pairing alongside the guy you see right behind him in Nate Schmidt. Now, a lot of experts and a lot of insiders were puzzled by this. The fact that Brayden McNabb would be a first-line defensive pairing in the NHL, considering what he had done in LA prior. Now, don't get me wrong, they said a lot of things about former Golden Knights players like William Karlsson and guys like Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith. They were a bunch of misfits. Misfits, they don't say. When it comes to Brayden McNabb, his 7 years he is now going to be in Vegas will only be talked about for one important reason. The reason why Brayden McNabb was so valuable to the Vegas Golden Knights is the fact that he had his physical play make up for his lack of scoring. His physical play and his physicality is the main reason why Vegas wanted him in the first place. His physicality is why he became a valuable asset to Vegas. I mean, just year 1 of being in Vegas was a main reason to why you can say this. Keep in mind, in 2017-2018, he only had 5 goals, 10 assists, and 15 points in 76 games. But what he did have was 52 penalty minutes. What Brayden McNabb did have as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights was a very interesting plus-minus, to say the least. His plus-minus in Vegas in 2017-2018 was a plus 26. Keep in mind, his tenure in LA, he had a combined plus 23 in LA. So he goes from a guy who only had a plus 23 to in one season had a plus 26 here in Vegas. So you have a guy in Brayden McNabb doing pretty well for the Vegas Golden Knights. There's also a guy who picked up one of his first ever game-winning goals in 2017-2018 to the Vegas Golden Knights. He also ended up having over 84 shots and had 88 shots the next year. Keep in mind, he had not had almost that many shots in a single season since he had joined the NHL. His time on ice had gone up a lot from the year before. He had had only about 15 minutes on ice in LA. He added 5 more minutes to that. It was among the league leaders in time on ice here in Vegas with 20 minutes a game in Brayden McNabb. As a matter of fact, Brayden McNabb recorded over 50 hits and 50 blocked shots in the same season, just to show you the physicality and the defensive style of play Brayden McNabb had. He had over 50 hits and over 50 blocked shots in the NHL in 2018. As a matter of fact, this became a reoccurring pattern for Brayden McNabb. Keep in mind that when it came to Brayden McNabb, when it came to block shots, I mean, this is a guy who has had over 150 block shots in 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022, and in 2022, 2023. He has had a lot of block shots. And in terms of hits, he has had over 200 hits in the Vegas Golden Knights organization 4 separate times. He has had over 200 hits as a defenseman in Vegas. So when it comes to Brayden McNabb, his performance in Vegas is a reason why he keeps on getting extended. Remember that in year 1, he got a 4-year deal worth about $10 million. And then recently, about a year ago, he got a nice extension by Vegas to get a 3-year deal at $8.5 million. So Brayden McNabb has not only been consistent, not only has he been reliable, but he's been a team player. And being a team player means that Brayden McNabb has become one of the best and stable players the Vegas Golden Knights have had. He has been a guy who has done plenty of good here in Vegas. I also want to mention to everybody watching around the world that when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2018, he was their first pair defenseman. When they won the Stanley Cup in 2022, 2023, keep in mind who was the starting defenseman in Game 5. Brayden McNabb and Shea Theodore was your defensive pairing in that vital Stanley Cup Finals against Florida. It was Marchessault, Smith, Carlson, McNabb, and Theodore was your starting 5. So Brayden McNabb, in all 6 years he has been in Vegas, he has been a valuable asset. He has been a commodity to the Vegas Golden Knights. And I also want to mention one valuable asset that Brayden McNabb has. And it is the fact that Brayden McNabb, he does miss games. Okay? There are some times he does miss games. But when Brayden McNabb is on the ice, the Golden Knights benefit more than they lose with Brayden McNabb. Brayden McNabb, in terms of win share, is insane. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what win share is pretty much the NHL version of win above replacement. Okay, it is the NHL version of point shares they have in the NBA and the NFL. So what is Brayden McNabb's point share? What is his win share with the Vegas Golden Knights? I'm really glad you asked that question because Brayden McNabb has an insane point share as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. He has a 22.1 win share for your Vegas Golden Knights. What that means is that he has had that means Golden Knights win 22 games when Brayden McNabb is there versus the 22 games that he would not be there. So, in terms of win share, a 22.1 means that they win 22 games more with Brayden McNabb versus a replacement that Brayden McNabb would have. So that is insane that the Vegas Golden Knights have gotten 22 point shares out of Brayden McNabb. And as we are talking about Brayden McNabb here on this show, I also want to mention real quick how valuable and consistent Brayden McNabb has been as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a guy who the last 3 years, he has had 17 goals, 66 assists, 83 points, and a whopping plus 75 in 420 games. Nice. In 420 games played, 83 points, but a plus 75 for Brayden McNabb. If that doesn't tell you how valuable he is defensively, that he is a plus 75 as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. But Ian, what about his penalty minutes? What about all of the penalty minutes that Brayden McNabb gets as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights? Oh, he must have an insane amount of penalty minutes, right? Well, Brayden McNabb in his 6 seasons has only 250 penalty minutes. So he has had 52, 52, 40, only 16 in the shortened 2020-2021 season, 42, and then 51. So Brayden McNabb has been averaging about 40 to 50 penalty minutes every year. So yes, he's willing to drop the gloves. Yes, he's willing to stick up for his teammates. But Brayden McNabb has also shown that he doesn't have to drop the gloves if he doesn't have to. He can, but he doesn't have to. And I've actually made an argument before that Brayden McNabb should be an alternate captain here in Vegas. Brayden McNabb should be wearing the A on his sleeve where he does not have it yet. So as we were talking about Brayden McNabb, and we have about 5 minutes left here on the show on Vegas Hockey Hub, I want to mention to you something valuable about Brayden McNabb, because this is something that I really feel doesn't get talked about enough. In terms of takeaways as opposed to giveaways, Brayden McNabb is very valuable on that front. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Brayden McNabb, he has actually had last year 38 takeaways versus 30 giveaways. The year before had 37 takeaways as opposed to 28 giveaways. So he actually gets the puck more away from people than he has the puck given away from him. So when it comes to Brayden McNabb, I look at that and go, all right, he's more valuable in terms of getting the puck than he is by taking the puck away. So I will say with Brayden McNabb, it's been really interesting. It's been a lot of fun seeing him play here in Vegas. And in terms of Brayden McNabb, in terms of contract value, I have to mention this as well. Brayden McNabb has 2 years left on his deal. Brayden McNabb is making $2.85 this year and $2.85 next year. So by 2025, Brayden McNabb will be a free agent here in Vegas. So until 2025, Brayden McNabb will be a member of this team. Brayden McNabb will be a Vegas Golden Knight. He will be a misfit. He will be a Stanley Cup champion here in Vegas. And there is one final aspect that I do have to mention, because if I don't include it, if I don't mention this when it comes to Brayden McNabb, I feel like it would kind of be a consequence to me. The fact that Brayden McNabb, as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, this is somebody who, he has been in LA, he's been in Buffalo, he's been in Vegas, we get all that. But what he has done is, I think he's actually been in the top 5 in games played in 2 seasons. All right, in 2019-2020, he played every single game. In 2022-2023, he played every single game. So keep this in mind. If you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, if you're Bruce Cassidy, and you need a defenseman that's going to matter, if you need a defenseman that's going to play night in and night out, Brayden McNabb is your guy. He has already shown that he is going to have a consistent basis of playing every single night. Because once again, I just mentioned this, he has played every single game in 2 straight years. And I also want to keep in mind, in 2018-2019, he only missed 1 game. So in 3 out of 6 seasons, he has played either every single game or he has played all but 1 game in a single season. So I want everyone to keep that in mind. And as I leave you with this, as we are the Stanley Cup champions here with the Vegas Golden Knights on Vegas Hockey Hub, and you see Brayden McNabb down there in the picture, I look at the Vegas Golden Knights, I look at your Stanley Cup champions, and I say that Brayden McNabb has been a great member of this team. He has been a fantastic addition since being brought back from the LA Kings. And I think Brayden McNabb has earned his spot as a potential Ring of Honor in Vegas when that time eventually does come. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. This is another edition of Vegas Hockey Hub. And until then, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.